All of us carry stories of the past, moments of pain, loss, disappointment, and fear. These memories, whether we realize it or not, often shape how we view ourselves and the world around us. Trauma is like a scar on the mind, influencing our emotions, actions, and relationships in subtle yet powerful ways. But what if healing wasn't about erasing those scars, but about learning to see them with compassion? In Buddhist philosophy, healing begins with mindfulness and compassion, two powerful tools that allow us to hold our pain gently without being consumed by it. In today's episode of The School of Buddha, we'll explore how Buddhist teachings can help us heal past trauma, cultivate self-compassion, and find peace in the present moment. Trauma is a form of suffering, and the Buddha's teachings revolve around the concept of dukkha, often translated as suffering or dissatisfaction. According to Buddhism, dukkha arises from three main causes: attachment or tanha, aversion or dosa, and ignorance or avijja. When we experience trauma, we often become trapped in these cycles, clinging to painful memories, pushing away difficult emotions, or remaining unaware of how deeply the past affects us. Let's understand each of these causes one by one. 1. Attachment to the past. One of the most common ways trauma manifests is through attachment to the story of what happened. Our mind repeatedly revisits the event, replaying it like a broken record. We cling to the emotions associated with it: anger, sadness, fear, believing that holding on to these feelings somehow protects us or keeps us in control. However, Buddhism teaches that attachment only deepens suffering. True healing begins when we can observe the memory without becoming entangled in it. 2. Aversion to pain. Another common response to trauma is aversion, pushing away the pain, trying to suppress or ignore it. But as the Buddha taught, whatever we resist tends to persist. Avoidance might offer temporary relief, but it prevents us from fully processing the experience. Over time, suppressed emotions resurface, often in harmful ways, through anxiety, anger, or physical tension. 3. Ignorance of impermanence. A key aspect of trauma is the belief that the pain will last forever, that we are permanently broken or defined by what happened to us. This belief stems from ignorance of anicca, or impermanence. In reality, all things, emotions, thoughts, and even memories are in constant flux. By embracing this truth, we can begin to loosen the grip of trauma, understanding that even the deepest pain is not permanent. Buddhism doesn't suggest that we deny our pain. Instead, it invites us to acknowledge it fully, to sit with it mindfully, and to understand its transient nature. This perspective shifts our relationship with trauma, opening the door to genuine healing. Mindfulness and self-compassion can be great tools in this process. Mindfulness, or sati, can be highly useful in healing you. It is the practice of being fully present with our experience without judgment. When we bring mindfulness to our past trauma, we learn to observe our emotions without being overwhelmed by them. Instead of pushing painful memories away or being consumed by them, we create a safe space where healing can naturally unfold. Here's a simple practice you can try. The next time a painful memory arises, take a deep breath and gently say to yourself, "This is a moment of pain. I am here for myself." Instead of resisting the emotion, allow it to be present. Notice where you feel it in your body. Stay with it, breathing deeply until it begins to soften. This practice doesn't erase the trauma, but it helps us relate to it differently. Over time, as we bring mindfulness to our pain, we begin to loosen its grip on us. The memory may remain, but its power to cause suffering diminishes. But healing trauma requires more than mindfulness. It requires self-compassion. Compassion, or karuna, is a central teaching in Buddhism. While it's often directed outward toward others, we must also learn to direct it inward, toward ourselves. The Buddha once said, "You yourself, as much as anyone in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection." Yet, when we're dealing with past trauma, we often blame ourselves or feel unworthy of kindness. This is where self-compassion comes in. Self-compassion means treating yourself with the same kindness you would offer a close friend who is suffering. It means acknowledging your pain, offering yourself comfort, and reminding yourself that it's okay to feel vulnerable. One way to practice self-compassion is through loving kindness meditation, or metta bhavana. Try this. Sit quietly and bring to mind an image of yourself. Then repeat these phrases silently. May I be happy. May I be peaceful. May I be free from suffering. If it feels difficult at first, that's okay. Keep practicing. With time, these words will begin to soften your heart and nurture the healing process. If you want detailed explanation on how to practice mindfulness and cultivate self-compassion, please check the video in description. Now let's try to understand how to let go of the past. Letting go is one of the most challenging yet liberating aspects of healing. It's not about forgetting or pretending the trauma never happened. Rather, it's about releasing the emotional charge and narrative we've built around the event, allowing us to move forward without being weighed down by the past. In Buddhism, letting go doesn't mean erasing memories or dismissing experiences. It means letting go of identification with them. When we hold on to trauma, we often internalize it as part of our identity, thinking, I'm a victim or I'm broken because of what happened to me. This identification becomes a mental habit, shaping our self-perception and influencing how we approach life. The Buddha taught that clinging to anything, whether it's a pleasant memory or a painful one, leads to suffering. By letting go, we stop identifying with the pain and start recognizing that we are more than our past. We are the awareness that observes the past, not the past itself. You can follow the following steps to practicing letting go. 1. Recognize and accept. The first step in letting go is to recognize what you are holding on to. It might be a specific event, a feeling of anger or resentment, or a belief about yourself. Accept that this is part of your experience without judgment. 2. Bring mindfulness to the pain. Once you've recognized what you're holding on to, bring mindful awareness to it. Observe how it feels in your body, perhaps as tension in the chest or heaviness in the stomach. Breathe deeply, allowing yourself to be present with the sensation without trying to change it. 3. Shift the perspective. Remind yourself of the teaching of impermanence. The pain, no matter how intense, is not fixed. It will change, evolve, and eventually pass. This perspective helps loosen the grip of trauma, making it easier to release. 4. Forgive, if possible. Forgiveness doesn't mean condoning what happened. It means freeing yourself from the burden of resentment. If you find it difficult to forgive others, start by forgiving yourself for carrying the pain. Say to yourself, I choose to free myself from this suffering. 5. Set an intention to let go. Letting go is an ongoing process, not a one-time event. Set a daily intention to release what no longer serves you. You might say, today, I choose to let go of the past. I allow myself to be free. But why letting go is a gift to yourself? It is because holding on to past trauma often feels like carrying a heavy burden. It consumes mental and emotional energy, limiting our capacity to live fully in the present. Letting go isn't about dismissing the significance of what happened. It's about giving yourself the gift of freedom. As the Zen saying goes, let go or be dragged. When we let go, we stop being dragged by the weight of the past and begin to walk freely into the present moment. This is where true healing begins, not in changing the past, but in changing how we relate to it. There's a well-known story in Buddhism about two monks who were traveling together. They came to a river and found a woman who needed help crossing. One monk hesitated, knowing that monks were not supposed to touch women, but the other monk picked her up and carried her across. Hours later, as they continued their journey, the first monk couldn't contain his frustration. He said, "How could you carry that woman? You know it's against the rules." The other monk replied, "I set her down at the riverbank. Why are you still carrying her?" This story of the two monks at the river is a profound illustration of how we can carry emotional burdens long after an event has passed. The second monk, who carried the woman across the river, represents someone who acts with mindfulness and compassion. He helps the woman without hesitation, knowing that the act itself is harmless when done with the right intention. After setting her down, he lets go of the experience and continues his journey with ease. The first monk, however, clings to the idea that touching the woman was wrong. Even though he didn't carry her physically, he continues to carry the mental burden, replaying the event in his mind and allowing it to disturb his peace. This shows how suffering arises, not from the event itself, but from how we mentally hold on to it. The Buddha's teachings often emphasize that we cannot change the past, but we can change how we respond to it. By learning to let go, just as the second monk did, we free ourselves from unnecessary suffering. The story reminds us that true freedom lies in releasing the burdens we've been carrying, especially those rooted in past trauma and regret. Here are a few practical steps you can take to begin healing past trauma. 1. Daily mindfulness practice. Spend at least minutes each day in mindful observation of your thoughts and emotions. Allow yourself to feel whatever arises without judgment. 2. Journaling for reflection. Write down your thoughts and feelings about past experiences. This helps you process emotions and gain clarity. 3. Metta meditation. Practice loving kindness meditation regularly, directing compassion toward yourself and others. 4. Seek support. Healing doesn't have to be a solitary journey. Surround yourself with supportive people, and don't hesitate to seek guidance from a therapist or spiritual teacher. I will be making a separate video for each of these steps. In many spiritual traditions, healing is often viewed as a goal, a final state of wholeness that we must achieve. But Buddhism offers a different perspective. Healing is not about reaching a perfect state of being. It's about learning to live with what is, with openness and compassion. Consider the metaphor of a broken vase. In Buddhist thought, healing is not about restoring the vase to its original form, but about embracing its brokenness. In Japan, there is an art form called kintsugi, where broken pottery is repaired using gold, highlighting the cracks rather than hiding them. The philosophy behind kintsugi is that the object becomes more beautiful for having been broken. Similarly, in our own lives, healing isn't about erasing pain. It's about integrating it into our story in a way that makes us stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. When we stop seeing trauma as something to get rid of and start seeing it as part of our journey, we begin to heal on a deeper level. We realize that we are not defined by what happened to us, but by how we choose to respond to it. As we reach the end of today's episode, take a moment to reflect on your own journey. What burdens have you been carrying? Are there stories from the past that still weigh on your heart? You don't need to let them go all at once. Healing is a gentle process, one that unfolds moment by moment, breath by breath. Healing past trauma doesn't mean forgetting or dismissing what happened. It means learning to hold your pain with compassion and allowing yourself the freedom to move forward. It means recognizing that while you cannot change the past, you can change your relationship with it. Take a deep breath now and silently say to yourself, I am more than my past. I choose to hold my pain with kindness. I allow myself to heal, one step at a time. This simple act of acknowledgement is a powerful beginning. Remember, you don't have to walk this path alone. The Buddha's teachings, the practice of mindfulness, and the support of a compassionate community can guide you. And as you continue on this journey, know that every step you take, no matter how small, is a step toward freedom, peace, and wholeness. Thank you for joining us in the School of Buddha. If today's episode offered you insight or comfort, take a moment to sit with its message. If you want me to cover this topic in even more detail, comment below and I will explain each conceptual word mentioned in this podcast. In our next episode, we'll explore how to move beyond ego and identity, an essential step in deepening our understanding of self and cultivating true freedom. Until next time, stay present, stay compassionate, and keep walking the path.